If you were ever looking for proof that politicians truly only care about winning elections, then you should see the pictures that we're showing you right now. This is a picture of 4 election rallies over the last few days from 4 different political parties. And you can see the large crowds that are being addressed. This is at a time that if you're getting married in the next few days, you're probably going to have to ask some guests not to show up. There are restrictions right now, one way or the other, in several cities in doing pretty much everything. Weekend curfews are in place, night curfews are in place, various curbs are in place. How does Omicron impact all of these people but does nothing to the lakhs of people in a political rally? It's almost magical. What makes the situation even worse is that remember what happened before the Delta wave last year? Public memory is surely not that short, where there were crucial state elections, large rallies, and then a surge of cases that caused such huge personal loss to so many across India. Omicron may be seeming milder today, but are we really waiting to tempt fate? Why should we have double standards? Who really is responsible for this? Should the Election Commission step in? The government says it's the Election Commission's prerogative. The Election Commission says we really can't do anything till elections are actually announced and the model code of conduct is in place. Meanwhile, a crucial meeting held today by the Election Commission. My colleague Samir has more details.
Yes, exactly. A very important and emergency meeting has been called in by Election Commissioner, and this meeting, which is chaired by Chief Election Commissioner Mr. Sushil Chandra, along with other Election Commissioner and officers. So the primary agenda of this meeting is to revise the COVID guidelines, especially for the states which are going in for election in nearby time. And these states include like Uttarakhand, Punjab and Uttar Pradesh. So what we are getting to know from our sources that an updated COVID guidelines may include that whoever the polling officer is or the election commission officers, those who are involved in the entire exercise of carrying out this polling. So those all officers will be vaccinated. They have to get their double dose vaccination. That will be mandatory. But for the voters, it will not be mandatory that they have to be vaccinated. But generally they will be asked or requested to get fully vaccinated. But yes, the officers involved will be fully vaccinated. That will be made mandatory. Along with this, couple of other strict measures are being currently thought about, which are currently in discussion mode, and post this meeting an updated guideline may come up. Now we all know that the states, especially in Uttar Pradesh or Punjab, we are seeing a surge of Omicron cases. So it is very likely that Election Commission may also come up with strict measures that may involve like the extension of polling time. 1 hour extra may be given for the voters. That might be one of the case. The other case could be that proper safe distancing, mask to be mandatory. So these all measures can be announced by the Election Commissioner. Now important point is that many people are assuming that Election Commission may announce the polling dates, which is very unlikely for a simple reason that on 9th of January, Prime Minister Modi is going to have a very important and a large rally in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. So it is very likely that polling dates may be announced post 9th of January. But as of now, this important meeting is currently going on, and post this meeting, Election Commission will also have a thorough discussion with the 5 states which are going in for polling in nearby time.
So whose responsibility is it to put their foot down and really curb the crowds at political rallies? I mean, isn't the irony plain for everyone to see? You have a situation where on the one hand, you have Netas address rallies full of crowds, and the larger the crowd, apparently more popular the Neta. And on the other hand, you have places where a person sitting alone in their car has to mask up because they have to follow COVID-19 protocols. Who is responsible for fixing this situation, and are we doomed to repeat the the same mistake we did last year before the Delta wave. To speak on this, I'm joined now by Dr. S.Y. Quraishi, former CEC, Tejas Mehta, political commentator with us on the show, as is Dr. J.A. Jayalal, National President of the IMA. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us on the India Development Debate. Let me go to Mr. Quraishi first on his view, because the government says that the EC will decide. Can the EC decide on holding political rallies before the model code of conduct comes into place, sir?
Not at all. Rallies happened today, yesterday, day before, and who was responsible? Not the EC at all. EC comes into the picture only when it announces the election and the model code of conduct kicks in. I don't know why everybody is trying to fire from the shoulders of the Election Commission. Today, there is no power with the Election Commission. The responsibility belongs somewhere else, which means the government of the day, central government, state government, even the district administration can impose all kinds of restrictions, and they can ban the rally.
Yeah. So if the district administration has to decide, will they really have the political will to do this? Let me go across to Dr. Jayalal and just get the medical advice. Dr. Jayalal, we're at a time when we're seeing an explosion of Omicron cases. Today, Mumbai has crossed the 10,000 mark, and these are detected cases. We know that this variant shows a doubling in infections over 3 to 4 days. What will be the impact of having these huge packed rallies when we're dealing with a variant of this nature?
Definitely, it is a very, very difficult situation we are facing. It is like holding a bomb in our hand, and at any time it can be explode. We are saying that the Omicron, even for the person who is going to take for the swab, is prone for getting infection. So that level, Omicron is highly contagious, highly fast spreading. So at this level, I think it is very unfortunate our leaders are not able to understand the gravity of the situation, but still looking only with the political agenda, going ahead with the rallies. And this is a very disastrous situation in which we are now living. I think the good sense should prevail on all the leaders and all the administrators, and they should see with iron hand, they should curtail this kind of rallies and this kind of any mass crowding at any cost and any reason if they are crowding. And this is the only way which is hopeful for us to carry forward in the coming days to curtail this Omicron spread.
Mr. Quraishi, let me come back to the point of who can step in. Clearly, if state governments, state administrations were interested in curbing large crowds at rallies, they would have by now. I mean, you don't need to spell it out, but there are political compulsions. All leaders want to gather the crowds. There's an important set of elections coming in. In this current context, is there nothing that can be done by the Election Commission at all?
No, not at all. The Election Commission has no power. It comes in only when it announces the election. And actually, they should have announced the election. They should have announced the election 10 days ago. Because eventually the focus will shift to Election Commission when the model code begins and the election process begins. So, but till then, it is the authorities, the government of the day, central government and state government, which have all the power. And they should have taken cognizance. Dr. Jayalal is absolutely right. We are sitting on a time bomb, and they are only bothering about their election rallies, how many people they gather and how many voters they influence.
You know, Tejas, it's a lot of what we're saying is apparent, but it is horrifying how rare common sense seems to be. The hypocrisy in the kind of rules that we're seeing, weekend curfews, night curfews, curbs on one hand and bustling election rallies on the other. Why is it so important for political parties to host these rallies and to address these rallies, even at the cost perhaps of people's lives? Do these election rallies and the large crowds that come there actually contribute to electoral success eventually?
Well, first of all, I love that one. The weekend curfew during one of the worst phases of the pandemic was an absolute gem which came out today. But yes, of course, the Chief Minister, Mr. Kejriwal, is now today coughing mildly, as he has put it, and I hope he recovers soon. But the hypocrisy begins, I mean, it's seen everywhere. You're not even wearing a mask, for God's sake. I mean, what's the messaging you are doing? But today that message also, because you want to certainly show your face, it's a rally, one understands that, but is this the time to have all of this? I mean, look at the US today, 10 lakh cases, 1 million cases. They are 1/3 our population, 1/4 our population. I mean, just think of it, Tamanna, 2 weeks down the line, we'll be talking, you will not be having any other discussions, certainly not political rallies, will be only focused on what's happening at hospitals. And we know what has happened in the second wave. Can't we just, extrapolate these numbers? Do we have the capacities? Holding marathons today, I saw, everywhere on social media, marathon for children, there's a stampede there, nobody wearing a mask. And then these rallies, I mean, it's not just for, I think it's irresponsibility, to put it mildly, because you know what the consequences are. But तुम्हें लगता है कुछ होगा नहीं, होगा तो किसी और को होगा. I think we have forgotten what's happened in the second wave. अब जो भुगतना है भुगतना पड़ेगा, और क्या?
No, this point is important. कुछ होगा तो किसी और को होगा. And perhaps the people watching this program are not the people who go to election rallies, but spreading that message is important. That if the Neta addressing your rally contracts COVID and needs medical care, he or she is much more likely to get it than you attending that rally in a large crowd. Your life and your health will not be the topmost priority. You will just be a statistic. So, I mean, I don't know if people will have that great sense, but Dr. Jayalal, what would you advise as the Indian Medical Association? What would you hope to see at this point? Because at the end of the day, God forbid, if hospitalization rates do increase as a proportion to the number of people infected, even if most cases are mild, it is the doctors, the medical fraternity that will suffer.
Exactly, that's what I wanted to say. I mean, as you said, the Netaji may get the treatment, and also the public will also get the treatment. But ultimately, the sufferers are our doctor at the medical fraternity. The last wave, we have lost more than 2,000 doctors, and nobody was able to care for them also. But setting it apart, when the second wave was over, the Honorable High Court of Chennai has made a statement. I will make the election commission as a murderers, and we will take action. That was a post-second wave, the statement. Why the same High Court, the Supreme Court, suyomoto take this decision and put it in a writing that this, we are saying that if the election commission is not doing, as rightly Dr. Quraishi sir has said, it is not in their purview at this moment. And why don't they put the same blame on the political people or the administrators? And if you are not curtailing this, and we will charge you the murderer or the charges and take action. And in many times we have seen the suyomoto action being taken by the honorable courts. I think this is the only hope now we have is on the honorable courts, where if we can take an suyomoto this case and say that political rallies has to be stopped in this country, and the government has to act with a tough hand to see to that no one is able to have the mass crowding facility, or mass crowding is allowed. And I think we need some strict rules, some strict information. Otherwise, we don't have any hope on these political parties.
It's not about rules, sir. I think the problem really is that our leaders are not following. Why will anybody else follow? I mean, you can give the danda in the hand of the police, but your message, which is essentially going, is it is okay. Look at us. That's the biggest political message. That I don't wear a mask. We are allowed to congregate in these large numbers when we don't have the capacity which is anywhere close to where we should have. No country has. Why play around with people's lives? I mean, this whole discussion where we are doing this tamanna in the spirit of democracy, ban, rally honi chahiye, logo ko hamara sandesh pahunchna chahiye. I mean, is this the time for all of this? These are exceptional times, exceptional of exceptional time, not even exceptional time.
No, but my point is why can't you use social media? Why can't you use technology to send your sandesh? That is already happening, and
Correct.
the sheer hypocrisy of it galls me. That if it is a matter of freedom of choice, then I mean someone who wants to party with 300 people should also have that freedom to harm themselves. This is all being done in the larger good. Dr. Quraishi, you want to come in on this conversation? I mean, it's very easy and simple to say that, you know, Netas don't care, but it is a pehle aap kind of a situation, isn't it? Because if one political leader has a rally, then the other one, who's also hoping to gain votes in the upcoming elections, doesn't want to sit back and take the moral high ground and say, okay, I will not address a rally, because at the end of the day, they don't want to leave anything to chance.
Oh, you know, it's not a question of somebody voluntarily agreeing not to do rally. What has stopped the government? Now, the Prime Minister is the chairman of the National Disaster Management Authority. He is every day he is concerned about the problem. He expresses his concern all the time. All he needs to do is just ban. I mean, he imposed a national lockdown and everybody complied. He should just say that from today, no rallies, including his own. So that is all that needs to be done, instead of, you know, leaving for the good sense of the political parties who will take the lead. It's not a question of that, it's a question of enforcement. And the government cannot be a silent spectator. They have to immediately come in and stop it altogether.
Yeah, the cost that we may pay is just going to be too high. What would be your appeal today, Dr. Jayalal?
Yeah, now when there is a two ways responsible, we cannot now put the blame on somebody and say that we can get escape. It must be all we realize that if my neighbor is not safe, I am not safe. So it is a responsibility of the individual, as an individual person, then we need to take the responsibility. If the government is not going to come out with a lockdown or any control, let us take a policy of taking a self lockdown, and let us take a decision that I will not come out of the house, and unless it is a very, very urgent need, and even if there is a possibility I need to come out, I will definitely wear a mask, it is appropriate mask, and I will make sure I am keeping the distance, and I will get vaccinated, and I will ensure entire people of my village, my community, my district is also getting vaccinated. And that now the focus has to shift from the government, where we are losing the confidence. The individual and the people and the communities and NGOs has to come forward and take the responsibility and ensure that the self-lockdown is being adopted by our own people, so that we will be able to save and our community and the society can be safe.
Yeah. Tejas, do you have any hope at all that better sense will prevail sooner than later before it really spreads out of control?
Well, Taman, I think we have, missed the bus for that, because when you start knowing what's happening, really, the government really has to kick in. I know it's a very, very, tough decision to take as to what sort of measures to put in, especially after two horrific waves and the economic distress people are going through already. I'm not for a total lockdown. No, I'm not. But I'm certainly for, ensuring at least, mass gatherings are not held. We are pointing the gun at Kareena Kapoor at some party she went, where some private individuals were involved. Here you have, thousands of people there. What about them? And there are really, Tamanna, these are discussions we can have of self-isolating and locking down in privileged, rooms. For the poor, it is not really possible. They have to go out. What is not being conveyed enough is wearing a mask. I have just bought N95 masks once again to get my entire set ready. I request all of you, please get proper masking. Wear double mask if you can't buy a N95 mask, but wear a mask. That is your universal vaccine, as everybody has said. So please do that, and you will ensure, go at least to a very long extent to instead you are protected and your family is protected.
At least push masking. If you are addressing a rally as a top politician, hand out masks at these rallies. And honestly, why do you have to have a rally? when so much is at stake. So many people have pushed things in their life. I mean, we did a story on the channel recently about how many people have cancelled their weddings because they know it's going to happen under the cloud of Omicron. Clearly, there are bigger priorities, better priorities, and better ways to win an election, not at the cost of people's health and lives. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us on this today. We hope that the people who need to are listening.